Perfect. And now either of you can get started when you're ready. Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen, and then Ellie and I are just going to alternate back and forth. And we have it arranged so that it shows, let me see which screen. The projects in chronological order and how we worked on them. So does everyone see my Zoom screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I wonder if I can move.
Yes.
It's a little. Okay, perfect. And this is pretty much our first project. I'm gonna move some things around. Okay, Ellie, whenever you're ready, I'll scroll accordingly.
Okay. So we worked with the Healing Arts Alliance this semester, which was very exciting. It was such a great experience. And our first project was we helped kind of take the booklet of their glossary and put it online. So that kind of looks like Alexia and I worked backwards. She started at A, I started at Z, and we took different holistic health terms and put different descriptions and kind of just made it or put descriptions in a way where the general public could go to their website and kind of have a really good understanding of what that holistic health term meant. So as you can see, Alexia is kind of going through it. We did for different A to Z. So for example, herbs, plants or plant parts valued for medicinal, savory, or aromatic qualities containing a variety of substances that act on the body. Herbs have been applied to virtually every disease and condition of humankind. So we basically just they provided us with a document that we took the definition, put it on the website, and if we needed to, we fact checked or we kind of Googled and researched different terms or ways to kind of make it understandable by the general public. So that was our first project. It was super fun. So yeah, as you can see, she's going through it. I don't know, Lexi, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think this one was a very good project to start with, mainly because there was a lot of information that it provided. So it was also a learning experience as we were transferring everything over onto their website. Like I didn't know what Prolo was prior to this, and just like seeing like how there's a variety of alternative medicine practices that can be applied to a multitude of healthcare concerns. And so that was what I thought was most interesting, is just that learning opportunity and like learning things I didn't know, like ultrasound is considered, alternative medicine. I would have never guessed that. So just a lot of things that we got to learn in different terms. And then our second project, let me know if you guys can see the PowerPoint. Oh, Zoom share. Can you all see the PowerPoint?
No.
Okay, let me see if I can do share. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I made a PowerPoint to display all of our brochures that we made, because that was primarily the rest of the work we did. And so for the first one, we made more of a general brochure for the organization as a whole, just to advertise the practices that they promote and the providers, and just a general scope of what the organization stands for. So obviously we focus on complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare. Their desire mainly is to connect the community to providers for these services, both local and non-local. And we wanted to promote practices that were alternative medicine, but also could be complementary towards traditional medicine. I think that's something that I definitely learned throughout this internship, is how they can work concurrently. And so I think that's a great resource for the community to have, and just gives a general overview of what the organization offers and what their providers offer as well, or their premium members, I should say. So they have practitioners and physicians. It lists the benefits and trends, and basically their mission is just to promote awareness for alternative medicine and those practices that can be used complementary to traditional medicine. So there's like a big one here. Oh, go ahead, Ellie.
No, sorry. Yeah, just going off what Lexi said, this honestly taught me so much about like how to use Canva and that kind of aspect, but also so much about holistic health and the different approaches that there are. And it opened my eyes up to so many different approaches to healthcare, which was very, very cool.
Yeah, and I think personally, this was probably my favorite brochure just because I think the most important thing when it comes to getting information out in the community is making it accessible. And I feel like this pretty much just encompasses what the organization offers to the community. And so I think awareness of these resources is a great tool to have out there. And
Definitely.
then
And the
here,
little yoga lady's really cute too.
yeah, the little yoga graphics, super cute. It matches the colors. But yeah, Canva also taught me a lot of patience.
Yes.
And then here's our second.
Excuse me. And so for our second brochure, or I guess single trifold, I guess, we kind of created a just a little outlay, or I guess outlay, yeah, of the different Healing Arts Alliance premium members. So these are holistic healthcare practitioners who are verified with the Healing Arts Alliance. So we kind of just created this brochure just to so that people are able to hand it out in order to notify people and kind of raise awareness of the different holistic healthcare practitioners that are working with the Healing Arts Alliance, and so that they can reach out and kind of find different holistic healthcare approaches if needed. And this was a very, very challenging brochure, just because there was quite a bit of information that we had to compact and format correctly. But as you can see at the bottom, through their respective practices, members seek to support individuals in making informed healthcare choices. So we really wanted to put this brochure together so that people who may not have partaken in holistic healthcare can kind of reach out to these practitioners and just become educated about it and kind of learn more about their practices and what they do. And this was a really, although it was challenging, it was really, really fun to put together, because as we were compiling this brochure, it required us to take just the names and the information from a document and then actually go on to the Healing Arts Alliance website and pretty much learn about what each of these practitioners do, which was honestly really cool. Again, we learned so much, and it was I really enjoyed this brochure after it was done.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ellie. I think this brochure is really important because it's one thing to have access to information about what the practices are, but where do you go from that is very important. So having access to a provider, I mean, this list is probably over 30 different providers for a variety of healthcare approaches. And I think that's really important for the community to have this resource. So they not only have information about where to find it, but also like who to go see. And their website is very comprehensive, and it gives a lot more detail into what they offer, what are their hours, and basically the scope of everything that they can offer the community. And then for our last one, this one was a little bit more in depth. It was covering trends in alternative medicine. We wanted this to be a resource for the community to understand, I guess, more of like a broader perspective of holistic care. And so this brochure covers a variety of topics. It talks about age and gender and how it varies by geographic region and race and ethnicity, and even insurance statuses. Basically, all of the determinants for healthcare we applied to alternative medicine. And then we also kind of gave like a generalized list of the domains in alternative medicine. So like whole medical system, biologically based practices, just really to show how people are utilizing this type of medicine. Something that I thought was interesting was how much Americans spend out of pocket on healthcare, and that's 30.2 billion, which is insane to think about. But it also shows that if something maybe within their insurance plan or provider isn't working for them, Americans are still willing to seek care outside of that. And that's where I feel like alternative medicine can come in. It doesn't mean that you have to use one over the other. And it also shows like how minorities make up the underserved population. And so this could provide relief if they can't afford traditional medicine. There are practices that are more comprehensive that can offer relief. And yeah, so we just wanted to provide some stats and information to persuade the public to consider pursuing their practices in coordination with traditional medicine.
Yeah, definitely. Going off what Lexi said, I think this brochure really opened my eyes to how it's not really one or the other, but how the two can really work together to like make a complementary healthcare. And also, it was very interesting to learn about within alternative medicine. There's different types, like the whole medical systems or energy therapies. Yeah, also what Lexi said, it was crazy to hear the amount of money that people are willing to spend, but that also shows how effective these practices are. And hopefully in the future, this medicine can be moved forward, and more insurance companies will be able to provide help for people to pursue these type of healthcare services.
And that's pretty much the end of our PowerPoint. But yeah, that's basically what we worked on this whole semester, was the brochures and the glossary. And I'm really proud of how all of it turned out.
Yes. Yeah. And we also were able to attend different like virtual town halls. And that was also really cool to kind of, since we were doing all of this work, it was really fun to be able to actually go and talk to some of these practitioners and kind of hear from them like one-on-one, and kind of just hear how motivated and what's the word I'm thinking of? How passionate they are about these practices, and how they have dedicated their whole life to these services, which was honestly very, very warming in my heart to hear after putting all this information together and then actually seeing it in person, how effective and how these people are dedicating their life to these alternative medicine practices. Sorry. So yeah.
A really awesome, amazing job. Alexia, if you could stop sharing.
Yeah.
Go back to the gallery mode. I would love to hear, before I have questions and comments, Caroline, could you speak as a project partner and tell us a little bit about the project from your perspective and what you hope to do with these brochures in the future?
Oh, yes. Well, we were just delighted to work with Alexia and Ellie, and there's no way as volunteers with a nonprofit organization that we would have ever been able to produce these materials. We've wanted to, we keep thinking about ideas, but the implementation part has always been left lacking until, we heard about this program and realized that it would dovetail nicely. And it just warms my heart to hear how much our fellows enjoyed this project and learned so much from it. So that was our intent. We wanted this not only to be serving our needs and our practitioner members' needs in providing these resources both online and in print to hand out, but we wanted it to be a good experience for our fellows. And a good learning experience for them, because that's their priority, is to make this dovetail with their education, and also as people, looking at it from a holistic viewpoint, like we tend to do with the Healing Arts Alliance. It's looking at yourself and realizing you are a whole person. You are not just a student, and these kind of practices. And just being aware of the variety of things out there, not just relate to health, but it relates to a lot of things that we take for granted as the way things are done. Just because that's, what society presents as the way things are done, doesn't mean we have to accept it. So I think part of being a student and becoming an adult is to question things and to dig a little deeper under the surface. So I think that's exactly what they did with this project. So I think it was a resounding success. And I also wanted to say that, we're gonna, I totally empathize with your frustration using Canva and how it's a great teacher of patience. Gosh, and that premium brochure, I wanted to comment because I know that was the biggest headache probably for you. And we also abandoned one of our projects, which was the abbreviations project. Remember that? Yeah. I said, hey, here's another little thing to do while and we started doing that. That was such a headache to transfer. You just don't think that it's going to be such a headache when we're in such a high-tech age that just copy paste things from one document into another format, but it was way more work than it was worth. So we abandoned that. And that's another important lesson, I think, is that sometimes things don't turn out exactly as you envision them, and that's okay, because it's not necessary. It's not to think of it as a failure, but as a recalibration. You know, we thought that might be important, but once we realized that the cost benefit ratio was not adding up, we dropped it. And I'm glad we did discover that early on, because I would have hated to waste more time just because, you know, it would have been a nice thing to have, you know, and then we wouldn't have gotten to the brochures, and you all had time. You did one completely, which we put in print. I think all of you know, Laura, and I think I told you too, we sent it to print and I got them in the mail last week, and went reserved a table at Frenchtown Farmers Market right away, because this is going to be our first outreach event, and it's this Saturday. If anybody can come, it's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It goes on every Saturday, but they offer tables for free to nonprofits who aren't selling anything. So we reserved a table. We ordered a banner also early in this process of working with the fellows. We thought, oh, now that we're going to have materials, we might as well have a table banner, and we can have outreach events again now that people are getting vaccinated, and you know, it can people feel safe being outdoors in open air and with masks. And they're very good at the Frenchtown Market. I'm a regular customer there anyway, and I notice people wear the masks. We're spread out in the fresh air. It's such a nice group of people, and several of the vendors there are members of ours. They're herbalists, and they sell their herbal teas and tinctures and things there at the farmers market. So it's a nice it's another nice opportunity for partnership. We're excited about getting out in public again for the first time in over a year, and have these wonderful brochures to hand out. Another thing I wanted to mention is how this saves us money, and how it's sustainable, moving things from our printed, I wish I had video. I don't have video on here, but I want to show you again our printed book. But last time we printed it was over a year ago, and it's 100 pages long, and a good 20 pages of it is the glossary, which now we have it all online. So these materials that Alexia and Ellie produced and we helped with, they will substitute for this 100-page book that we had to print up thousands of and worry about how to store and distribute and waste paper. And then they become, you know, obsolete as soon as we have new members join, because they don't get in print, they just get on the website. Well, because we've invested in this really more comprehensive website, we're able to move away from a print-oriented awareness campaign, outreach campaign, to just having small printed materials that drive people to go to our website and find out more. So the premium members brochure, which will be more like a rack card, will be printed. It's just two-sided. That highlights our premium members, which are our top subscribers. They pay the most to be in the book. So if we printed everybody, there's 3 levels: associate, professional, and premium. So if we print everybody, that could be a trifold brochure. So this is just kind of testing the waters to see, you know, we're going to pass out the general awareness brochures at this Frenchtown Market, and I'm going to print out just 1 copy so people can look at the premium members and what that's going to look like. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get another member or 2 sign up because they want to be a part of it. And so when we get around to polishing that up and finishing it and sending it to print, it will also be a nice collateral material to hand out to people. People like to have something in their hand. Business cards, however, are kind of a thing of the past, you know, becoming a little bit more arcane because they're so hard to keep track of, and you've got to transfer the information into your phone anyway. So we just want these materials to intrigue people, raise their awareness, get them curious about checking out more resources on the website, and getting to know these practitioners on a more personal level, which they also can do through our website by looking at their videos, their written materials, and attending their events. So I could just talk forever, as the girl said, we tend to be passionate about these things, and we could just go on. So I'll stop there and take a breath, and maybe we're out of time. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caroline. On my part, as the Sustainability Fellows Coordinator, I have just been so impressed and just surprised every single check-in that we've had month to month, because I remember the first check-in, you came in and you were like, oh, we finished the glossary. And I was like, what? That was supposed to be like a semester-long project, and you guys got it done so quickly. And then just to see the amazing work that you've done with the brochures, I really am blown away. I think sometimes people see things like brochures and think, oh, how simple, it must have been so easy. But it's actually so much harder to take a huge amount of information and condense it into a really user-friendly format. So I am just, like I said, truly impressed and so like pleasantly surprised by the amount of really great materials that you were able to produce in such a short amount of time. So the project has definitely exceeded my expectations. And I think you were both the perfect fellows to work on it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and remember, there was research involved too. They had to look for information to put in those brochures, and a lot of times it's a distillation process, as you point out, Laurelin. It's like, gosh, there's so much information out there on the web nowadays. How do you sift through it? And that's where you need the critical thinking of a student, a scholar, I should say, a scholar, to look at all that material and decide what's relevant to the question at hand. What can we do without? What's really, documented in a reliable way from a reliable source, all that stuff. And that goes into that deceptively looking simple brochure. And that's why that second brochure, it's a little busier. It's got all the demographics in it. But that's good. That's really good information too, because it takes it a step further. Like the first brochure is, this is what complementary and alternative medicines are, and go to our website and maybe you can find what you're looking for. Second brochure tells people why they should care about. It's like, what we are is the first brochure. The second one is, why should you care? Well, you should care because these practices may be more effective for you than conventional medicine, what conventional medicine has to offer, or they make wonderful complements to traditional conventional medicine and help you get where you want to be sooner and be the best person you can be.
Great. And I have just one last wrap-up question for the students. So most people, when they think of sustainability, probably wouldn't think of holistic health. But from your perspectives, how does holistic health practices, how do they fit in with the broader concept of sustainability? And you touched a little bit on it in terms of like health equity, making health more accessible to more people. But I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts.
I think for me, holistic medicine incorporates sustainability. When you think of traditional healthcare, there's a lot of resources involved to execute, I'm going to say, simple procedures. Obviously, it's not simple considering how many people it takes to do that, the resources, the costs, all that kind of stuff that goes into just going to the doctor. But I feel like holistic medicine has already the idea in their head that we have to operate in a way that's, one, serving the person that's coming to see us, but two, also not utilizing a lot of resources that may be damaging or time consuming or very more cost effective. And I think all of those make up what sustainability is in a sense. I don't think people, like you said, think about that. I think sustainability is like just recycling materials or reusing things. And it's just like, no, actually it's choosing methods that are holistic, that are comprehensive and aim to just get the job done in a more simplistic approach, I think is the best way I would put that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what Alexia said. And also, I think sustainability also, it's obviously a huge environmental aspect, but also I think you need to think about your health in long term. And I think holistic approaches very much are more sustainable for your body in the long term, in the way that it doesn't just treat the symptoms. It takes into account everything about yourself, your mind, everything you consume, all of the above. And I think those approaches really kind of look at your overall life and not just the symptoms. And it honestly is a lot better for your health long term. And it's much more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys put it, that was a really great way to define it. Well, oftentimes when I think about holistic health, I think of like the connection between what we eat and what's good for the planet. Because a lot of times the most sustainable diet is actually the one that's best for your health. So I make that connection a lot too. But thank you both so much. And thank you again, Caroline, for being an amazing project partner. It's been such a pleasure to watch this project unfold and to just see more and more components added onto it sort of month after month. Really, I'm so impressed, and thank you both for your hard work.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, you both, for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I got some ideas just listening to you. I got some more ideas, and I'm thinking maybe we might split that last brochure into 2 brochures.
Okay.
Because, and I know you all don't have time to work with us anymore, but I just talking and hearing you talk about it helps crystallize in my mind. Maybe it's too much information in one brochure. Maybe we can break out the health equity part and address that all by itself, and then address everything else more, the demographics and the impact financial, that shows how much money is spent on this, maybe can be a whole other brochure. I think the equity part may be a topic unto itself. And that's the other thing that makes it relate to sustainability is, when people have limited resources, it's really important where they put their resources. And frankly, we all have limited resources. I mean, the earth has limited resources. So when our scholars talked about how the holistic approach is more less wasteful of resources, more cost-effective treatment, oftentimes, what triggered for me in my mind is, there's another elephant in the room I forgot to mention, which is that pharmaceuticals, we all need some kind of pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying that that's all bad. I have 2 vaccines in my arm thanks to Pfizer Pharmaceuticals that I'm very grateful for right now. But the over-reliance on pharmaceuticals by conventional medicine, because they believe that it's kind of what the consumer has sort of driven this trend in mainstream medicine, which is we come to the doctor for a quick fix. And it takes some education on our own part to realize that maybe the quick fix is not the best way to go. It's not the sustainable way to go. It may address one issue and then have bad effects on other things. So when Ellie said, looking at the whole person, body, mind, and everything, what you consume, it's not just consuming, whether you're consuming pills instead of, using exercise, meditation, energy to help you with headaches or anxiety or whatever. It's also, what are the side effects of the things that you're taking for one ailment that may cause other things to be out of balance in your body and your mind. And not only that, but maybe the upfront cost is not high for a pharmaceutical, but our country supports on a large scale through our taxes and politics and everything. We support these major corporations to a huge degree in order to make things affordable to the masses. But at what cost? At the cost of, we have to have high priced insurance. We have to take jobs that offer health insurance policies. We may not be able to buy a house because we can't afford it because of health insurance, so there's costs that we may not realize that are under the surface that go to support the way things are. So we kind of need to, we see ourselves as trying to shift the paradigm of thought that this is just because this is the way things are, they don't have to stay this way. and that every change comes from the grassroots. Every significant change comes from the ground up, from people demanding change, and people asserting and spending their dollars in a way that makes a difference. So not only pharmaceuticals, but surgeries. A lot of our practitioners, their great strength is to help people avoid surgeries or other invasive, intrusive procedures that they really don't want to have. So and there's so many practices like physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, that at some point in our human history were considered radical and woo-woo, quackery. But and a lot of things that were quackery never did make it into the mainstream, but other things did, like ultrasound, as you pointed out. Ultrasound used to be considered more quackery. X-rays were considered quackery. Now they're considered mainstream medicine. So things, it's sort of a dynamic thing, and kind of squishy, what's considered alternative and what's considered mainstream. And just getting something to be accepted into the mainstream is not necessarily the end goal. The end goal is just to get the consumer educated so the consumer can make the decision what's best for them, not to be force-fed anything.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for that, Caroline. I think at this time we will stop the recording.